of US Army Pacific, and we are the co-hosts for exercise Talisman Sabre. Talisman Sabre began in 2005 as a bilateral exercise between Australia and the United States. 20 years on, this year, the 11th iteration of Talisman Sabre has 19 nations participating, and we're expecting nearly 40,000 people to be participating in the activity. We have three objectives this year, and the first relates to the number of nations that are participating, and that is allies and partners. We're going to operate together, integrate together, cooperate, collaborate. There is a rich opportunity for us to learn from each other by operating together, training and rehearsing our warfighting. Our second objective is related to posture, and that's to test our ability to move our forces into the north of Australia and operate from Australia. And that includes bringing all of those 17 invited participating nations into our country and rehearsing with them our ability to operate from Australia into the region if need be. And finally, we are conducting combined joint warfighting together. And this relates to my earlier comment about the value of allies and partners operating together, learning from each other, increasing our skills and knowledge. So those are the three objectives for Talisman Sabre this year. Now, another unique aspect of this year's exercise Talisman Sabre is that we'll, for the first time, be conducting a component of the activity offshore. And this will be done in Papua New Guinea, and it will be a joint personnel recovery exercise or a combat search and rescue exercise. And we're going to formally close exercise Talisman Sabre from Papua New Guinea in Lae on the 4th of July. I'm going to hand to my colleague General Val, who will also make a few comments.
Thank you, Vice Admiral. As stated, I'm J.B. Val, the Deputy Commanding General of U.S. Army Pacific, and on behalf of my boss, General Ron Clark, who will be out here later in the week, it's a privilege to talk to you today real quickly to amplify what the Vice Admiral said and talk about kind of the what and why we're doing this. So what it is, explained by Vice Admiral Jones, has grown into a multinational endeavor that has several key things that are very important to us all. As mentioned, the posture, the forward positioning of capabilities, that second thing, that allows us to work and rehearse together for better interoperability. And we view interoperability with three facets: human, technical, and procedural facets. Those are important because you can't build those things in a crisis, be it a humanitarian assistance disaster response mission, or be it some sort of conflict in the future. We build those capacities and capabilities forward together. As the saying goes, we could do all this alone and we could go fast, but because we want to go far, we have to do it together. And that's important because of the instability that is resident in the region and our requirements to be ready to protect our sovereignty, our territory. Ultimately, there are two things that Talisman Sabre and exercises like this, as we campaign through the theater, provide. It's readiness to respond when our nations call us to do that. And it's effectively a deterrent mechanism, because our ultimate goal, part two here, is no war. By rehearsing, by practicing together, by staying in tune with each other, we are providing that readiness to our armies, our navies, our air forces, our space forces, our cyber forces, and we're providing a better readiness component to deterrence. And again, that sum gives us the ability to respond appropriately in crisis, rehearsing with our partners we'll see again in the future, and ultimately not have to commit forces into a conflict. We look forward to this because, as mentioned, big things have small beginnings, and just a few years ago this was a bilateral exercise, and now with 19 nations involved, it's a signal to just how important staying and working together is in this region. So I want to thank and congratulate our hosts, Australia and Vice Admiral Jones. We look forward to getting more readiness and working with our partners in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'd now like to introduce our exercise directors from Australia and from the US, Brigadier Damien Hill and Brigadier Richard Goodman, to make a few comments.
G'day everyone, Brigadier Damien Hill. I'm the Australian Exercise Director for Talisman Sabre 25. I'll just give you a few kind of snapshots. CDROPS has given you a few. The 11th iteration of the exercise, 19 partner nations. We have 2 observers that will come and observe the exercise, and it's a normal process for us to ask them to come because it is unique experience exercising in Australia. So Malaysia and Vietnam will be observing the exercise for the first time. 5,300 kilometres from Christmas Island in the northwest shelf to Jervis Bay in New South Wales and all points in between. I think we'll gust close to 40, if not exceed 40,000 participants. We'll have over 80 defence training, non-defence training areas, so some of our civilian community and Australian bases operating at the same time. It gets at that posture exercise objective that Admiral Jones mentioned, and 79 firsts that we know of at the moment. And excitingly, today marks the first time Australian HIMARS live fired about an hour ago in Shoalwater Bay training area. Considerable mark of modernisation given that they arrived in Avalon in February and were live firing in July. So all of the things you need to do to bring something like that together, done very quickly. And indeed there'll be many other firsts. It's been about 700 days of planning alongside our US counterparts to get to this point. And the reason it takes so long is because of the number of nations, 800 plus collective training activities over 3 weeks. And it's really important that we are able to do this safely. So a great deal of gratitude to our US partners, and myself and General Goodman and our teams have worked very carefully over the last 2 years to bring this to fruition. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Brigadier General Rick Goodman, U.S. Indo-PACOM Director of Training and Exercises, and it's an honor to join you on this beautiful day in historic Sydney Harbour. First, I'd like to start by saying thank you on behalf of Admiral Paparo and U.S. Indo-PACOM to our very gracious host here in Australia for the hosting and the depth of planning that has occurred over those last 700 days to lead up to this moment and this exercise. This exercise represents the cornerstone of bilateral training and exercising readiness and preparation that General Val talked about, both in a bilateral nature in our alliance, as well as the multilateral nature to the exercise that you see in front of us with the 19 partner nations, 2 observers, and close to 40,000 participants. So we look forward to the next 2.5 weeks, and I look forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're now ready to take some questions.
Vice Admiral, I might ask you, given the size, the scope, the historic nature of this exercise, what does this say about the nature of the world we live in at the moment, the threat we face, the strategic difficulties that surround us?
I think the fact that we have 19 nations participating this year in exercise Talisman Sabre tells you that we're all in search of a common goal, which is stability, a free and open Indo-Pacific, and adherence to international law.
We keep talking as well, I can add, about the Chinese presence. Our Defence Minister said the other day he fully expects them to be there again, watching again. Is there any trace yet? Have we tracked a ship? Are they in waters? Are they coming on the way?
I fully expect that the People's Republic of China will want to come and observe the activities that occur as part of exercise Talisman Sabre. They've made a habit of that over preceding iterations of the exercise. There is no sign yet. No, we are able to adapt to that presence. As I said, it's fully expected, so it's catered for in the planning of the exercise.
The size and scale of this operation, what sort of message does that send to
Well, I will leave it to China to interpret what 19 friends, allies and partners wanting to operate together in the region means to them. But for me, it's, as I said earlier, it's nations that are in search of a common aspiration for peace, stability, a free and open Indo-Pacific and adherence to international law, a region where sovereign nations exercise agency and where they're free from coercion.
You mentioned earlier that focus on operating north of CDF, you mentioned that a few weeks ago.
Yep.
What has driven that sort of shift in defence thinking to operating from within our borders, if you will, in command? Does that also influence, I guess, the growth of Pacific involvement in this exercise?
I think it points to the nature of the strategic situation in our region. I think CDF was talking about this recently, and it's really just a reflection of the direction that is in the National Defence Strategy that was published in April last year.
How close have we let the Chinese ships get?
I'm not going to go into tactical information and answers. As I said, we expect the Chinese will take an interest in the exercise. We expect that they'll come to observe, and we have measures in place to cater for that, and we monitor constantly, no matter what, all of the maritime approaches to Australia. Sorry, can you just repeat that? Yeah, look, Talisman Sabre is ultimately a tactical level field training exercise. The geographic scale, as you've heard from Brigadier Hill, is immense. We have activities occurring from Christmas Island to the South New South Wales coast and across half of the states and territories in our nation. So the geographic scale of this is enormous. I'm going to leave it to the exercise directors to talk to you about the detail around the exercise, if you will. Yeah. Look, the Australian Army has the lead still for that incident. I'm very mindful that this Talisman Sabre will be the first since then. I'm also very mindful that there are a number of ongoing inquiries related to that incident, so I'm not going to talk to the incident while they are still playing out. We have an eye in every operation or exercise that we do. The first order of business and our highest priority is safety. It's the safety of the participants who come a long way to involve themselves in the exercise.
In your mind, how is this iteration different from 2 years ago? Has China's military capabilities over the last couple of years, has that impacted the planning of the exercise? Like, what are the key differences now versus 2 years ago, aside from just number of nations?
Well, the planning for this exercise is the subject of what the participating nations want to get out of the exercise. And as you've heard, there's over 700 days worth of planning that goes into an exercise Talisman Sabre. So we start a long way out, and this is an exercise that now has a 20-year pedigree, and we're in our 11th iteration. So this exercise is about us training and rehearsing combined, joint, that is multinational warfighting, not about anybody else.
If there are failures, do you take those to government and say this is why we need more money?
There are lots of lessons to be learned out of these sorts of activities, and I provide those lessons to the senior leadership in Defence so that we know where and how we've got to improve in our warfighting capacity. And the rest I leave to government.
Final questions, please.
Would I just be able to ask for America?
Please.
There's been a lot of debate in this country over recent months about the
Great question. Ironclad. It's one of our treaty alliances, Australia, United States. Of the 7 the United States has, Australia is one of, and a key anchoring ally in the Indo-Pacific. So I would express to the Australian people, one, thank you for allowing us to be in your communities, in your training lands, to work with your people, to help and assist in practicing and rehearsing your territorial sovereignty, and your soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians getting better at what they do for you every day. And so I think that's the important piece. Wherever we do exercises as an Army in the Indo-Pacific, nothing more unique, empowering, and keystone than the defense relationship we have, Army to Army, with Australia. And so I thank your citizens for allowing us to come here and do that.
Jeff, can we ask as well, there's a long list of countries taking part here. Taiwan is missing. I mean, it's a very tricky and delicate one to potentially put on an invitation list. Would you ever consider it? Did you ask them? How would it work?
That's up to your government as the primary co-host, if they were to have them here to train off island. Based upon our laws, the United States, the 1979 Taiwan Relations Act, we are authorized by Congress to assist Taiwan in their training and development and security cooperation, which is what we do, to within those legal parameters. But if you're talking about future exercises, I would speak to what your government would do to invite them. They do participate in other exercises and events where we can help train them for their defense as well.
I think the first one I might add, it says that 5 wings or arms of the military are involved in this exercise, and intriguingly, the space mission as well. Can you give us any detail about how that's involved in Talisman 25?
Well, I'll keep it very conceptual. The fact that we have good partnerships with the tactical formations in Australia for cyber and space operations is an answer to the changing character of warfare we see across the globe, Ukraine, Russia, in the Middle East, and the space capabilities that we practice together will be helpful in how we enable the rest of the joint force, the sea, the land, and the air forces to do what they need to. And so just conceptually, we know those threaded exercise events will be very helpful to the joint force.
Is this the largest Talisman Sabre ever? Can you guys confirm?
I believe it is. 35,000 plus. It's the largest. I would also add, large doesn't mean that's the measure of effectiveness. As stated, it's the fact that we're coming together in response to what we all see are evolving, delicate challenges in the region. That's our measure. That's the mateship, I think, is also involved in this.
Are you testing any submersibles, drone submersibles?
In this exercise, there's a potential for that, and I think we do have a couple of those on the Navy side.
American or Australian or both?
I believe it. Both, yeah.
Both, right?
Yeah. And we are doing several innovative experimental things here that are part of our evolving organizational designs for some of our formations. And some of those involve long-range precision fires, and we're testing those things out with our partners here in Australia.
Final question, thanks. Taking part in the drills and the ships taking part
I don't have the specifics on the movement of the ships.
So HMAS Canberra and HMAS Jules are the 2 Australian amphibious ships participating in the exercise. They're both in Townsville at the moment. We'll depart this afternoon, link up with the Republic of Korea, the Japanese and the United States, and conduct amphibious activities from Cowley Beach to Shoalwater Bay training area over the next couple of weeks. I know HMAS Adelaide is about to do its own sea activities after the exercise, but we've committed a very large portion of our amphibious shipping to this exercise. Well, they're hosting the opening ceremony, so I think they're getting the high-profile event they deserve, whilst HMAS Canberra is going to be earning their spurs and then some.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time, everybody. Thank you for coming out. Sir, thank you. I probably want to get some B-roll of them. Are we able to? We got